And the Supreme Court will decide whether cities can legally ban or limit homeless people camping in public spaces.
Fox Side legal analyst Wendy Patrick joining us this morning. Wendy, good morning. Always good to see you.
Good morning. Always great to join you.
All right, take us through. What is the background of this case?
Well, the background of this case is the reality that in many of the warmer, not Iowa, Western states, homelessness is a very serious issue. And in San Diego, the issue of homelessness is close to home for all of us. So we're closely watching this case. But it's really about options. So this Supreme Court case would evaluate the ability of locales, states, cities, municipalities to regulate homelessness where there are shelters available. And that is a very important caveat because some of the existing precedent looked at this issue and decided this issue where there weren't adequate shelters. So this is one of the reasons that we're going to be very closely watching this. Because remember that it doesn't address the issue that also plagues many areas, San Diego included, the issue of people that choose not to go to shelters even when they're available. But nonetheless, it'll be great to hear from the Supreme Court because this is so important.
What do you feel the arguments are going to be from both sides once they face the Supreme Court?
Well, I'm glad you asked me that, Raul, because remember, this case has been talked about regarding the Eighth Amendment, cruel and unusual punishment, but it really might come down to more of a due process argument. In other words, can you be held criminally liable for a scenario that you can't avoid, i.e. living in an area where there aren't any other options other than living on the streets? That's why we do have homeless shelters in many of our jurisdictions. And that's important because people that choose to avail themselves of all of the options that a shelter could offer them, which includes meals, housing, showers. I mean, many of these people want to get on their feet and go to job interviews. If there are those kinds of shelters available, well, then the criminal responsibility shouldn't lie for that if these shelters are there. That's what the Supreme Court's going to weigh in on. But let me just say something more as a practical reality. The goal is to lead people to shelters in every jurisdiction, not necessarily to just say, oh, let's just jump first to criminal penalties. And I also want to say that many other states, including Honolulu, by the way, the city of Honolulu, is also sort of weighing in, filing what we call amicus briefs, friend of the court, saying, yes, this is such an important issue in so many jurisdictions. It would be very wise to hear from the Supreme Court to establish some parameters on when cities can actually make it criminally responsible not to comply with some of these laws.
What are the parameters, per se, here in San Diego? How are these encampments currently being handled here?
Well, the first violation, remember, they're trying to, as of July of last year, we're trying to lead them to shelters. But the problem is some people don't want to go to shelters. And even if those people do, or if they can, or if there is space available, there are also parameters about location. So location matters here. Can't be close to a school, a park. There are certain areas that even if someone does have a permanent place to stay, those are parameters that are going to be enforced, and that might not change even if the Supreme Court rules. In other words, it's not just free speech when we talk about time, place, and manner restrictions. It's a lot of other areas where we can say, okay, we can't criminalize this type of activity, but we can try to restrict where somebody is allowed to create tent encampments, for example. But the goal really is to get people into shelters and hopefully to encourage them of all the reasons to do that. I understand the mental illness argument, and I wish that I had a legal solution for that. But let's just say, the Supreme Court has agreed to hear the issues that it can do something about, at the very least, by establishing some sort of precedent for different states to follow.
Yeah, you may have answered this already when you mentioned the fact that you can't criminalize, you can restrict, but if the encampments are illegal, what does that mean for people building encampments?
Well, there are some people that are going to be fined for that. And that has been probably one of the most significant developments that led to the Supreme Court agreeing to hear this case. Gavin Newsom was one of the people that was really fueling this effort to go forward with this, because some people had thousands of dollars in fines for building encampments, for blocking sidewalks, for refusing to go to shelters even if they were available.
Like, if you find somebody who's living on the streets in a tent, $1,000, what?
Yeah.
How do they expect to get? It just doesn't make sense.
Exactly. And that was part of the issue. Why I believe the Supreme Court agreed to hear the case is because how can you justify doing that? And so that's one of the reasons some people thought, oh, they're never going to hear it. But yes, they will, because that's not fair.
Right. Okay. Wendy, Patrick, we appreciate it. Thank you for taking the time.
Thank you.